My name is Shagun Idowu. I have the privilege of serving as the Chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion for Mayor Michelle Wu for the City of Boston. We are very delighted to have you here at the Edward M. Kennedy Institute. And in particular, we want to thank our partners at the Asian Development Bank. Ambassador Wong, thank you so much for your partnership and collaboration on this event to bring so many people from across the region together for this important discussion and opportunities to build new and long-lasting relationships. I am here to take up your time. You all are not here to see me. You're here to, in particular, hear from our mayor, who is joining us and will be coming in shortly. I have to say that for me, it's especially meaningful to be here behind this podium. I actually used to work here at the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the United States Senate. We are not allowed to call it the EMK Institute. It's the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the United States Senate. Always remember that. We are really delighted to have you in this replica model of the U.S. Senate chamber, where all of you are senators for a day. I'm just going to say a little bit about the work that we've been doing in the Cabinet Economic Opportunity and Inclusion before welcoming the mayor to the podium. So 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, our office used to be called the Office of Economic Development. And I'm not going to do the terrible dad joke that my entire team is hoping that I don't do. But I will say a little bit about why we changed our name to Economic Opportunity and Inclusion. When I was asked by the mayor to come into this role, we talked a lot about what she heard on the campaign trail and what she learned and felt with the residents of Boston as a city councilor for 10 years. And what that was is that when people heard the term economic development, they had a little bit of a negative reaction. Because in the city of Boston, on the streets of Boston, many residents, when they thought of that term economic development, they didn't see themselves in it. They thought of all the cranes in the skies and how they thought that the development was not for them. And so for myself, for the mayor, it was important that before they meet me or any of the members of the team who will be called out momentarily, that they understand the work that we're doing and who we're doing it for. And so while all of the actions and programs and policies that we are implementing and thinking of and pushing forward fall under the umbrella of economic development, what was important for the mayor is that we are creating new opportunities, but also understanding that there is no such thing as economic opportunity without inclusion, and ensuring that every single resident, every single stakeholder within the bounds, not just of the city of Boston, but within the Commonwealth and within the region, if they are not at the table at the beginning of the conversation, we will never truly realize our full potential. And so that's why our name is much longer and difficult to remember rather than the Office of Economic Development. But situated within this Cabinet of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion is our Office of Global Affairs. And I want to very quickly thank the Director of Business Strategy, Aaliyah Forrest, who's here and who manages our Global Affairs team, James Coleman, who's here. But in particular, I want to thank, and I'm going to ask her to wave her hand, is Yushi Wong, who helped organize this entire event with our partners at the Institute and, of course, at the Asian Development Bank. I also want you can see I also ate the lunch, and so now, but I want to thank other members of the EOI team who are here. I see Donald, who's our Deputy Chief. I see Sarah, who's our Director of Operations. I see Shanice, who's leading our work and business strategy, and other members of the City Hall team. I see Sam, I see Stephen, and I'm sure I missed, did I miss anyone? Okay, great. So again, we are so grateful that all of you are here. Very shortly, the mayor will be coming in to deliver some remarks. And I just want to give a little preview before she gets here that, a lot of the work that we have been doing at her direction has helped to make sure that we are expanding opportunities for so many of the folks here in our city. And we want to thank all of you as our partners in the business community for helping to make this economy what it is, this growing and vibrant economy. A couple quick things is all the work that we're doing to support our small businesses, many of you who were in this room, the amount of resources that have been made available as a result of this administration and focusing on inclusion, but also thinking of our work in ensuring that many of our partners, particularly in communities of color, are having access to opportunities to do business with the city of Boston. The city has not had a great reputation in the past for making sure that contracts and other resources are getting to businesses owned by people of color, by women, by veterans. But what we are grateful for is because of the leadership of and under the direction of Mayor Wu, that we have taken significant policy steps to address this. And so we weren't even at single digits in the past, but because of the work that our teams have done in the last 18 months, in just the first couple of quarters of 2023, the fiscal year, at least 12% of our contracts that were awarded, which are millions and millions of dollars, went to diverse companies, which is really important for the city of Boston in moving us forward and ensuring that all of our businesses have an opportunity to participate in our economy. And so with that, I am not going to stall anymore, because I know you all have actually come here to hear from our wonderful mayor. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my boss and your friend and our mayor, the Honorable Michelle Wu.
Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your approach, which has been around making sure that as we grow the pie, it truly is including everyone. And that is reflected with the day-to-day work of this incredible team that serves in our cabinet for economic opportunity inclusion. So could you join me in just thanking them one more time, all the team members who've been recognized and those who couldn't be here today as well. It is an honor to be here with you. And how many folks have been in this space before? Okay, so some people, but for many others, this might be a first experience. And the first time, I remember the first time I was in here, just the feeling of gravity and connection to the functions of our government reflected in every little detail to recreate this space is not only a breathtaking experience to be in, but it also creates the opportunity for members of our community, some of whom might not have had or might not ever have the opportunity to go to the Capitol and be in DC, and there's such a small number of people who've ever sat in those seats on the floor, to have this experience and to situate this very important conversation about making connections and growing the pie for everyone. I'm really grateful to our hosts here and to be in a space built on the legacy of a leader who dedicated his life of service to making sure that everyone could be reflected. I also want to thank and recognize representatives from various state and federal agencies who partner with our amazing city team every day. We are joined by the Massachusetts Export Center, the U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Small Business Administration, U.S. Trade and Development Agency, and the Export-Import Bank of the United States as well. And of course, it is a privilege to be with Madam Ambassador, Madam Chantale Wong, U.S. Director of the Asian Development Bank, and someone who insists on making sure that we not only are working at policies at a high level, creating that system-wide change, but really seeing the local human impact of everything that she does. From her founding the Conference on Asian Pacific American Leadership, to her photography, to her years of public service, that mindful and impact-oriented leadership is critical, and we're so thankful for your partnership. We need this kind of vision, and we need this kind of collaboration, especially now as governments and businesses and the people we collectively serve continue to emerge from several years of disruption under the COVID-19 pandemic. Alongside economic recovery and development, ADB is increasingly focused on issues that are maybe traditionally thought of as beyond the scope of the economic sector, but really are just as fundamental to the impacts that people are feeling in their day-to-day lives, like climate change. This isn't a problem that we can solve after it happens, and we see the consequences almost every week with different images and horrible headlines in the news. The flood in Libya, the earthquake in Morocco, fire in Maui, the potential impact of Hurricane Lee right here in New England and on the East Coast. Climate change is something that we all need to be ready for, including the economic impacts. whether that's ensuring connectivity through all weather events or tackling the gaps that end up having a tremendous effect when there are cases of extreme heat or weather, or ensuring that we're doing what we can to be prepared and reduce the impact through driving down our fossil fuel dependence. Ambassador Wong has been focused on how each decision helps us in our fight against climate change globally and how each decision impacts residents, especially the most marginalized locally. For nearly 60 years, the Asian Development Bank has been there to empower our neighboring nations to the west as they work to lift up their residents. And ADB's projects not only receive more visibility and transparency, but also more scrutiny and security to ensure that members' funds are invested ethically and have the greatest impact possible. That same philosophy of having a positive impact on our residents while we do everything we can, even to try to prepare for and mitigate what's beyond our control, such as climate change, that drives everything we do here in Boston. From the climate resilience work of our Environment Department to the grants and investments we make through our Office of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion to lift up our small businesses, help our city recover from the pandemic, and to help us close the racial wealth gap. Chief Ita Wu and his team have led the way in, for example, distributing and putting resources right back into community. $9 million they have invested through Boston Space Grant Program, which provides wraparound support and services from lease negotiation and accounting and tax assistance to regulatory compliance, marketing, and consultation on employee ownership for Boston-based entrepreneurs to have their first space in a currently vacant high foot traffic area, or to grow their business and make those connections so that every neighborhood, especially our key economic corridors, will reflect the communities that we serve. They've invested more than $5 million in our Main Streets program, which helps us revitalize our neighborhoods by supporting our 20 commercial small business districts, everything from relief funding to beautification and programming. And they've invested $1 million through Boston's Legacy Business Program, which showcases and sustains the stores, shops, and restaurants that have been long-standing anchors of our community. We are proud to put the resources that we have available at the city level right back into working with our communities, creating opportunity, and closing gaps wherever possible. We've designed these investments to support the diversity of our city and ensure that everyone who calls Boston home, whether your family's been here for generations or you're one of our newest neighbors, that you have the opportunity and the security to thrive. And that also means investing in our economic relationships abroad. Boston is a hub for our region. We are how New England businesses stay connected to markets around the world. Currently, the Port of Boston serves 2,500 businesses across the region, creating 9,000 direct jobs and supporting 66,000 total jobs. They're connecting businesses all over the world to 14 million consumers in Greater Boston and throughout New England. Now, make no mistake, goods and services flow in both directions through the Port of Boston. Last year, our exports to Europe through our port totaled more than $3.3 billion, and our exports to Asia totaled nearly $1.5 billion. And those are just to our largest export destinations. Boston's own exports are on the rise as well. Year over year, we saw an increase in exports of nearly $13 million, and we are hoping to show even more growth and working towards that in the next year. We want all the businesses represented in this room and across New England to be a part of that growth. The value of our port's exports to China and Japan was less than half of what we shipped to Germany, the Netherlands, and France. There is a huge growth opportunity and potential there. We can send what we have to offer to families and friends, businesses large and small, and governments from local to the national level throughout ADB's member nations. So I'm calling on all of our businesses, whether you're based in Boston, in the Commonwealth, or across New England, to join us in supporting the economic development and climate resilience of Asia and the Pacific. This is the most natural disaster-prone region in the world. We've seen that in the floods in China, South Asia, the Philippines, and South Korea, a heat wave that had tremendous impact across the South and Southeast Asia, and landslides in Indonesia, Myanmar, and South Asia. I know Ambassador Wong often says that the battle against climate change will be won or lost in Asia and the Pacific. I also know that when all of ADB's member countries and business leaders work in coalition, that battle will be won in Asia and the Pacific. So what you all are here today to plan and then to execute on is creating those bonds, growing that pie, and having an impact that even goes far beyond economic development to opportunity, inclusion, and truly shaping a future of a world that serves everyone. Thank you so much for what you do.
Well, thank you all very much. We invite the ambassador to come say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, so much for hosting us here. And certainly my team is very anxious and very happy to be here to want to get all of the companies that you mentioned to come and really help us with the work that we do in Asia and the Pacific. It is very critical. I have to tell you that the reason why we're doing this 4 cities tour and the reason why we're coming to Boston, not only to meet with you, but and bring your companies around, is that we're in competition in ADB getting contracts, and my role is to make sure that the American companies do well, and so we're here to really encourage a lot of more American companies, U.S. companies, to come and do the work, because guess what? We have the best ideas, we have the best technology, we know how to do it, and the fact that the President Biden has invested so much into the green technology in this country, we have all the capabilities to come in and do all the work in Asia and the Pacific. And the other aspect is the diaspora. We're looking at the huge diaspora that comes around here in the Boston area, but also around the country, Asia and Pacific. A lot of us call the U.S. home, but our ancestors come from the region, and that is really what we want to appeal to the diaspora, to come back and do and invest in the home country or the mother countries that you all come from. And so we're very happy to be here. And it's been a long time. I know we've talked about coming, and so now we're here. And we're very happy to be here. What a great city you have. And I miss it too. So thank you very much, Mayor, and let's get some work going, and let's get some collaboration going forward. Thank you. Sit here. There you go. Thank you.
Ready, say Boston. 3, 1, 2, 3.
Awesome. All right.